You listened to him on the KVJ show for years. Every time he tried to talk sports, he'd get shut down. After years of begging, we finally gave in. Brought to you by Bremen Motor Cars and by Wellington Anti-Aging. It's Kevin's Other Show on 640 The Hurricane.
Well, welcome to the show. Got a ton of football to talk about today. Get through all your college, talk about the Miami Dolphins roster, Gase's take on it, talk a little bit about Colin Kaepernick, a story which I'm sure you've already heard beaten into the ground today, but we'll give our thoughts on the new Nike ad campaign. And
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Is it looking good for Nike or not? Is it a good business decision? There's actually some early numbers that let you know which way this whole thing is trending. We'll get to that. The Miami Heat, are they about to trade a major player? And a lot of college stuff to get to. Overall, not a good weekend for the state of Florida when it came to football. In fact, I think arguably the only fan base that's probably happy, really thrilled right now, is Florida. But, they played a bunch of nobody on Saturday.
It was like Charleston Southern or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was nothing to get pumped about, but, they ran it up. They looked good. The offense was something. But, I don't know how exactly you're going to get too fired up by that. Big story is what the Canes and the Noles did, and, it's just crazy. You got to go way back. In fact, I saw the Bear tweeting out last night. The last time both the Canes and the Noles opened 0-1 was all the way back in 1975.
Can you believe that, man? It's been that long.
Yeah.
That's how dominant these programs have been, and obviously during the first games, you normally play a little bit of a lesser opponent. So this time around, Miami, went against more equal opponents. And, this is what happened to both teams. They just shellacked for both.
Yeah, I guess, this is the time of year where, when it comes to polls and all that kind of stuff, it's just nonsense because you don't know. You don't know how teams are going to be, how they're going to shake out. LSU, a team that finished pretty strong last year, but I think they lost their bowl game to Wisconsin. So they were coming off that loss, but, they got a new quarterback. You don't know how to look at that. But LSU is LSU. They still recruit well. They got good running backs. They've got good receivers, great defense always. You saw that. But I think if you're a Canes guy, you just are like hoping that whatever it was, the malaise that they went through the last 3 games was just that, and that they would start off fresh here in the new year. And it looked like, 0-4 last 4 games for the Canes?
The second time in 2 years that Miami, 3 seasons since 2016, that they have been 0-4 in a 4-game stretch. Think about that. They were 0-4 toward the end of 2016, went on a long win streak, I think 14 or 15 games, and dating back to the previous season. And then they have 3-game losing streak to end last year, and they lose the game this season. It's insane, the roller coaster that they've been on now over the past few seasons. So hopefully now they'll go on the upswing. Like if this roller coaster continues,
do you think so?
Now they can get back on the up.
What do you think? You're a big time Canes fan. Give me your thoughts from what you're seeing on this team.
Yeah, first off, that game Sunday was like watching something that you love burn down and you don't have a fire extinguisher next to you. That's what that felt like.
Yeah,
there's just absolutely nothing you can do as you've seen that just a complete disaster happen before your eyes. But aside from that, it was, you now look at the schedule, right? This is a game against LSU. Obviously, it's non-conference. Mm-hmm. It would have been great to win it because you don't want to be 0-4 in your last 4 games. You want to start the season on a good note. You wanted to see Rozier play well. None of those things happened. Absolutely zero of those things. So now you just have to kind of look and say, look, you have Savannah State next. You have, after that, Toledo. You're at Toledo. Mm-hmm. You have FIU at home, and then you have a Thursday night game against North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Those are 4 games that you should be able to get back on track with.
Sure.
And from there, after that, then you have Florida State. So you have those 4 games in between, where now Miami can hopefully fix some of these issues and figure out why couldn't the O-line block to save their life? Why was Rozier, to his credit, as bad as he looked, he didn't have any time to throw. He didn't help himself, but he didn't have any time to throw.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why is the defensive line getting gashed on runs? Why can't they stop anybody on third down? Why can't they convert a third down?
And this is a team that's returning 14 starters.
Yeah.
So this is really part of it that doesn't make sense. And I think the offensive line is a big part of it. I think your quarterback play is another big part of it. And yeah, the offensive line is something to say, but I mean the numbers are just abysmal, and it just seemed like even when he had a chance to throw, just not in sync. And
Not
the
at
one
all.
thing that he said, it was so crazy. He made some kind of comment about the receivers being too fast. He's like, Jeff Thomas is too fast. It's like, well, wait a minute. Okay, so you want slower receivers? No. I mean, that's a quarterback's job to get on the same page and understand their speed and how to throw it.
Without Jeff Thomas's athleticism,
Yeah.
Rozier would have, if you can imagine
I couldn't believe
this-
that comment. I was like, and I just saw, Canes fans were lighting him up on Twitter being like, what is that comment? So Jeff Thomas is too fast?
It makes no sense.
It makes zero sense. And that's where you're just like, when you hear something like that come out of your quarterback, a senior nonetheless, that
Yeah.
should really know what he's doing, who's gone 15 for 35. 15 for 35.
I put something out on Twitter after that game. Actually, I was actually very active on Twitter. I was trying to get my emotions out.
Yeah,
To do
it's your
something.
vent.
Yeah, I was venting. I
Yeah.
needed to have some outlet that night. And I put something out then on Sunday. And I thought to myself, maybe I'm just emotional. I'll sleep on this and see if I still agree with myself in a couple of days. And I do. And that is that Rozier needs to be done. The Malik Rozier era, that should have been on Sunday the final. The closing chapter of the Malik Rozier era. I don't think it's going to be.
His one interception he had, it was unbelievably god-awful. I mean, there are some interceptions where you're like, okay, that's an interception in the books, but
Yeah.
it's not fair. Sometimes a receiver contributes to it, whatever. I don't know what that one pick was, but I mean, if you have two eyes, you shouldn't throw that pick.
And God bless him. Todd Blackledge tried to defend Rozier on that interception. It was the one that went for the pick six. I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about. Threw it right into the middle linebacker's stomach. I mean, it's not like it was even high, and the linebacker
I don't
had
even
to jump
understand
up
how
and
you
get
defend that. Yeah, and you were probably, 5 yards away from a Canes receiver?
Yeah, there was no one. You're right. There was no
Yeah.
Canes receiver within a 5-yard radius of the linebacker. How do you throw a pass that badly? And this is
Yeah.
not a one-game thing for Rozier. This goes back to the 3-game losing streak from last year.
Yeah.
The game against Pittsburgh is what started it. I don't know what happened to this guy. It's like when a kicker misses a kick and he can't get out of it. This is what, for some reason, Rozier is just cooked. He just is.
It was a telltale sign when that happened. In fact, they were watching the ratings, and ratings were, pretty good.
Yeah.
But the ratings massively declined right after that pick six.
That was it.
Because everyone knew the writing was on the wall. When they
Sure.
saw that pick, they're like, oh my gosh, the Canes quarterback is lost.
And I don't want to come off as like the angry Canes guy, angry Canes fan on Twitter right now. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have a level head about this, and that I just really don't understand how they're still playing like this. I mean, they brought all these guys
Yeah.
back. Mm-hmm. They went 10-0 last season with the same guys.
Right.
What has changed in these last 4 games? It's just mystifying to me.
I think part of it's, like you'd said, the offensive line. I think that's throwing your run game off. You can't get any kind of balance, but you've got horrible quarterback play.
Yeah.
And you've got Nkosi Perry that was suspended for the game for violating team policy. Cade Weldon. They say that he's been okay and shown some glimpses, but I guess in the final fall scrimmage he threw 5 picks.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
Jaron Williams, the freshman quarterback, he's got a pretty strong arm, but they say he's lost out there. He doesn't really know the playbook.
He's too young.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem like right now you've got a viable second option. And that's, I think, what's scary for the Canes and for the future of the Canes looking ahead to the season. Now, you're right. Luckily, they got some time. Maybe they can get a backup warmed up behind Rozier so that they've got something to look at, because you got some big games that are going to be coming up. You got to get ready for Boston College. Virginia Tech looked nasty.
Yeah, they did.
Last night. Knowles fans know that.
And Miami goes on the road to VTech this year.
That's going to be a real tough game.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing about the LSU loss, you're right, it's not in conference, and the positivity is saying, look, all of our goals are still out in front
To
of
be
us.
fair, they are.
To be fair. But if one of your goals was to make the college football playoff, you now have to beat Clemson.
Yep.
You can't lose again, and you have to run the table, which means also beating Clemson.
That's right. This was the game that it was one or the other. You could either lose to LSU and have to beat Clemson, or beat LSU, run the table, and lose to Clemson and still have a shot to make it in. Now you put yourself in the position where you have to beat Clemson in the ACC title game.
That's what you're looking at.
I mean, they have to beat Virginia Tech and Florida State first, quite honestly, to make it to the ACC title game. And if they play like that, Miami's not getting very many wins this season. Now, to be fair, I don't think they are going to keep playing like that. They're going to be able to right the ship and figure some things out in these next 4 games. But why not use that? And that's what I'm saying, Kev. Why not use these next 4 games? They just named them off: Savannah State, Toledo,
Yeah.
FIU, and North Carolina, to put Nkosi Perry in there and let him get acclimated to the system now.
They said they're going to get reps. The backups will get reps. I mean, you're playing Savannah State, who's not even a high-level FCS. They're lower level. They lost their first game 52-0 to UAB.
If they're losing that much to UAB.
To UAB.
Yeah.
I mean, who didn't have a football team a couple years ago.
That's right.
So, I mean, when that happens, yeah, you're going to get a lot of reps for the backups.
This needs to happen. It's done. There shouldn't even be a discussion today at all as to why he's still there. He just shouldn't be there anymore, Rozier.
Where's that Canes team that beat Notre Dame last year?
I don't know. That's why it's just so confusing to me.
Yeah, it was a very baffling loss. LSU looking solid at where you would expect, but I mean they've got a guy that's been in the program for a while that bust open that huge run. He's a senior, so he's been around for a while. My guy Joe Burrow, the transfer from Ohio State, he looked good, but he wasn't great.
No, he wasn't anything
and it wasn't
impressive.
like he beat the Canes and be like,
No.
oh, that was the difference.
Not at all. LSU's average starting point was like the Miami's 45. I mean,
Right.
it was insane. He didn't even really have to do anything. He didn't have that great of a game.
Yeah.
He just had to manage it at that point.
Canes just look confusingly bad.
Yeah.
And the only thing I think, if you're a Canes fan, you took a whole 24 hours of getting trolled horribly by the Knowles fans, and then they got rolled.
Yeah, they did. It's pretty
So
bad.
we'll talk a little bit about that. Got to talk also about the FAU that got completely blown out of the water as well. We'll get to some of that coming up here in minutes.
Be part of the show on Twitter at 640 The Hurricane, #Kevin's Other Show.
Sorting through some of the pain for the weekend for Florida football.
It really was painful. That's a good way to put
It
it.
kind of was. Aside from the Gators, really not a lot of rejoicing that was going on. Florida State just got housed last night, 24-3 in Tallahassee. I mean, they start off great. Uniforms, okay, cool. I'm cool with that. The way they do that kickoff swagger, that sway, that's kind of cool. And then right after that, man, that was about it. I mean, it was just kind of alarming. And, you're trying to see something out of Willie Taggart. And, obviously the jury's out on him. And I'll tell Knowles fans, honestly, I don't think you're going to know until the end of the year what you're going to have in Willie Taggart. There was really that one part of the game last night that to me was baffling for the Knowles was they had a touchdown. And all they had to do was wait to get that replay. It was very clear. Knee was not down. It was a touchdown reception for the Seminoles. Knee did not touch, rolled over a player into the end zone. You get your replay, you get a touchdown. Instead, Willie Taggart rushes the offense out there. They're not set. They get a penalty. I mean, it was the absolute
Weird.
worst thing you could have done. The game management bad. That right alone starts to give you some doubt about Willie Taggart. That's very confusing, and that's like, wow, game management, not good. Willie Taggart, his overall coaching record, 47-50. He's got an overall losing record. Now, to be fair, this is a guy that comes in and turns around programs. He had done it. He took over an 0-12 Western Kentucky team, got him to 7-5, took over USF that was 3-9, got him to 10-2. Oregon was 4-8 when he takes over, and he turns him into a 7-5 team. So that's why his overall record is so bad. And in a sense, he took over a Knowles team that, for them, had a bad year. They finished 7-6 last year. But you just look overall at this game, and to their defense, Bud Foster is the defensive coordinator for Virginia Tech. You don't want to play Virginia Tech early in the season because they throw crazy stuff at you, man, and they get your head spinning, and they are solid on defense. The Knowles had 5 turnovers. DeAndre Francois had 3 interceptions. It just looked bad. I mean, Virginia Tech finished with more tackles for loss than FSU had first downs.
Man, as bad as Miami looked on Sunday, I think FSU looked that much worse.
Well, this, I think, might be the battle between Canes and Knowles fans right now. Yes, you both looked awful, but who looked worse?
That's right. That's where we are right now after the first week. We didn't look as bad as you.
There was just some baffling numbers. Cam Akers, Florida State's running back, finished the game with 82 yards with a long of 85.
How's that possible?
How do you do that? Your longest rush was 85 yards, yet you finished with 82. That'll let you know what happened on every other rush you had. You were running backwards.
I'm no math major here, Kev, but that just doesn't sound possible.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Of Florida State's 63 offensive plays last night, 35 went for 0 or negative yards.
Oh, my gosh.
55% of your plays. That's how stifling the Virginia Tech defense was. Wow. I mean, it's just crazy what happened last night.
How much of that was Bud Foster and Virginia Tech's scheme and coaching, or as opposed to Florida State just not being good?
Well, you saw that, Florida State, you've got a seasoned quarterback. You've got a 5-star running back in Cam Akers in there. Line was a sieve. I mean, again, you're seeing these teams, same thing with the Canes. The offensive line just looked absolutely awful. But, you've got some speed at receiver for Florida State. I mean, your core problem, I think, was your offensive line and then just whatever the coaches were doing, they seemed baffled. Play calling I didn't get. Game management just seemed bad. And that, to me, if I'm a Noles fan, that's what scares me the most, is I see that. In Virginia Tech, yeah, Bud Foster is a freaking defensive genius, but they had a lot of new, fresh players in there. They didn't have a lot of experience on that defense that they rolled in there last night. So, yeah, you don't feel good about that game if you're a Noles fan. And right now, your prognosis for this season might be about what you saw last year. Oof. I don't know that you feel any better about this season than you did last year. Now, trying to get a little bit of a take here on FAU. This is tougher because you had an FAU team that was hopeful but knew that they were going into a situation where they're going to be outclassed. Jake Elman's on here from the Palm Beach Post, so nobody knows more about the Fighting Owls than Jake. 63-14, watching that game, it was unbelievable. I was expecting to see a better FAU defense. They gave up 650 yards of total offense.
It's tough to
believe. Like a bad nightmare.
Yeah.
I couldn't get that. And I just saw, the Oklahoma quarterback scrambling around. There was one play to me that changed the game. It was like FAU could have tackled him 3 or 4 different times. And he scrambled, got free, threw the ball. And that's where I'm like going, okay, you're seeing the speed, athleticism. This is going to be a nightmare the entire game. And they just never turned it around.
Yeah, they did the estimate on that play. It was 85 yards, Kyler Murray running from sideline to sideline, and you're watching it, and it's just, this is the FAU defense that we've been talking about. This is the Azeez Al-Shire, Jalen Young, Shelton Lewis-led unit. This is the same defense that forced 20 turnovers or had 20 interceptions last year. And it's not, credit to Oklahoma. I think, and I was saying this to some people today, maybe we lost sight of the fact that Oklahoma is Oklahoma, that FAU was facing a Power 5 program, a blue blood program, one of the best programs in the country, a possible national championship team.
Absolutely.
They went into the college football playoff last year, number 2, higher than Alabama and higher than Georgia. So, maybe we did lose sight of that a bit from the media side and from the fan side, but I mean, the people that at FAU losing, and I even said this last week, it'll be a shootout, but it'll be, 42-30, 40-24. Nobody was expecting 63-14.
What is most alarming if you're an FAU fan after this game at Oklahoma? Because the defense is baffling. Singletary, he got 69 yards on 18 carries. So the rushing wasn't great. It was the first time he was held under 100 yards since the Wisconsin game last year. Quarterbacks rotated through the whole thing, and you just didn't necessarily see, I don't know if Robinson is, you feel like, the answer. What do you think if you're an FAU fan? What concerns you the most? And then where would be your little ray of sunshine after watching this game, Jake?
Well, I think that the thing that's most concerning, and it's not so much hitting the panic button as it is, let's take a step back to 2 years ago, before Lane Kiffin came in, before he brought in, his brother Chris Kiffin to be the defensive coordinator. It's not an effort thing. It's, can this team tackle? Can this team properly tackle? Are they making the right reads? Are they adjusting if they need to? And there's a part of me that says, okay, Saturday you're playing against guys who are much bigger than you, much faster than you. But I keep thinking back to the Kyler Murray play, and you have all these chances to stop him in the backfield. And if you make those mistakes against Air Force on Saturday, or if you make those mistakes against Mackenzie Milton in Orlando later this month, they're going to beat you.
Yeah.
You need to go back to the things that work. And and again, credit to Oklahoma. It's just this defense, the whole team is aggressive. I didn't see much aggressiveness on Saturday. I saw a defense that looked lost. I saw a defense that at times looked a little lethargic. And, you look at time of possession and you see, okay, FAU beat them by a minute or so, but
Yeah, you're not winning games on time of possession. Yeah,
scoring so quickly.
Right. In fact, a lot of teams anymore, they don't necessarily want the time of possession. They just look at how many plays they're able to run in a game, and that usually is their telltale of if their offense was cranking or not. When you saw what FAU did, and you saw UCF here over the weekend as well, do you think FAU? What do you see with that game right now? I mean, can you get any kind of measuring stick on how this game's going to match up? And what we're talking from this Saturday, 2 weeks away.
No, I think it's way too early right now. I think we need to see what happens with FAU quarterbacks. We don't know if Chris Robinson will be the starter come September 21st. We don't know if it'll be DeAndre Johnson. We don't know if they're going to make any changes on, maybe in the receivers. I was impressed with the receivers just because Coach Kiffin had been so pessimistic about their chances. What do we see there in a couple weeks? Is the offensive line still healthy? Is the defensive line, is Hunter Snyder, their senior who was limited, is he back in the starting lineup? I think right now, FAU needs to start off Saturday, really beat up on Air Force, not just on the scoreboard, but just take the frustration out on them. Because you know that week 3 hosting Bethune, I mean that's an easy win. But but beat Bethune, beat Air Force, beat up on those two, take the aggression out. Because the worst part about Saturday, if you're FAU, is you just had a historic season last year, and you've had all this talk in the offseason of, okay, FAU is the Alabama of Florida. FAU could potentially be the New Year's Six team. FAU is going to dominate Conference USA.
You thought.
And then your first game, you play so poorly that now you have people wondering, well, is this the FAU that was the FAU under Charlie Partridge? Is this the FAU under Pelini?
Well, Faith dropped. I mean, in the USA Today poll, they dropped FAU 19 spots. They're down to 42 now. So maybe it's good for FAU. The talk is, I think, going to cool. They got a chance to try to regroup, try to get ready for this UCF game, figure out who the quarterback's going to be. I don't even know if they have an order. It looks like Robinson is the starter, but then they had the SMU transfer in their second, and they brought in DeAndre Johnson third. So I don't know if that's the order of the quarterbacks, but they obviously got a lot of things to figure out, and I guess we'll get to know hopefully a little bit more. But that defense is going to be weird because Air Force, you're running a triple option on Saturday, so I don't know what that's going to tell you about the FAU defense, but we'll follow along. Jake, we appreciate you jumping on with us today talking FAU. How's bud?
Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, man. And I don't know if you heard about the blunder. The FAU Alumni Association sent out a series of texts over the weekend that said FAU just beat number 7 ranked OU on their home field. Whoops.
That is not the text you want me to send you out after you get just destroyed.
63-14, and you make a text faux pas. So somebody jumped the gun on that.
Seems like they had that one set to go, and they hit send by accident.
Coming up here in a couple minutes, Nike, the Colin Kaepernick ad. Some of the early numbers are out. Money's all that matters. So are they heading in a positive direction financially or not? We'll let you know next.
Yep. He's here, too. It's Kevin's Other Show, right here on 640 The Hurricane.
We were talking college football last round. I saw what the USA Today is, and some of the highlights on that was just the drop. We'd mentioned FAU dropped 19 spots, and theirs. Michigan dropped 11. The Canes dropped 9, down to number 20 in theirs. Big gainers, LSU popped up 25 to number 13. Notre Dame was up 9 to number 7. Auburn went up 4. But the AP is just come out, Diener.
Yep, this is the new official AP poll after week 1 of college football. LSU, you just mentioned, USA Today was kind of doing like a re-ranking thing there. Mm-hmm. Well, LSU is now officially number 11.
Okay.
After being ranked 25, so move up 14 spots.
Can't hate on that because USA Today kept Penn State at 11, which I just don't see after what they did Saturday.
Well, AP put them down to 13.
Okay,
so
fair.
Penn State goes down to 13. Miami, obviously, is a big question everybody has on where they ended up 22.
22,
so
yeah.
Dropped from 8 to 22, 14 spots now in the AP poll.
It's a plummet, but that's fair.
It is fair. It is fair. You lost. Now, to be fair, also, LSU should not have been ranked number 25. They were way
and that's
underrated.
why these polls, even week 2, I mean, a lot of people say week 4, week 5 is when you really start to see a good sample. So even week 2, I'm not necessarily buying into this, but so far, fair movements.
How about this, though? Michigan goes to 21.
Okay.
They dropped from 14 after that loss to Notre Dame.
Yeah, and I don't really have a problem with that. But keep in mind, they did lose by 7. But, yeah, I think ultimately their stock was way too high, and they look like just the same Michigan team you've seen. And they're a 20 to 25 ranked team.
And now I think this is the first time, I'm not sure it is, I need to fact check myself on this, but it's the first time I can remember UCF is now ranked ahead of Miami, Florida, and Florida State in the top 25. Florida State is out of the top 25. The
fair.
Gators go into number 25.
Okay.
UCF is number 19.
Yeah, I couldn't understand. USA Today has Florida at number 50 and only moved them up 2. And I know they played nobody, but I thought you saw a lot of positives. I thought Felipe Franks looked like an actual quarterback you would like. I thought the receivers looked good. It looked like, in Florida's issues never been their defense, even in the down years. It's been their offense. That offense looked good under Dan Mullen. I don't know why they didn't have them there. I think AP's got it right.
Yeah, no, this is pretty solid. I mean, to be fair, like you said, Miami's a big drop, 14 spots to 22, but that's what happens when you just get dismantled.
And it's early. I mean, still,
Yes.
anybody who's high or low or whatever you're looking at, who cares?
Auburn and Washington, not much movement there. Auburn goes to 7 from 9. Washington goes from 6 to 9.
Yeah,
So
that was a close
not
game.
a lot. Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State. That's your top 4.
Okay. And they got Florida State where?
Out.
At AP?
They're just out of the top 25, so I
Okay.
don't have their exact number
USA
now.
Today's got them at 34. They
Okay.
dropped them 8 spots.
Yeah, they must have. That's probably somewhere in there. They got to be somewhere in the 30s.
Okay.
After that.
All right. Seems pretty fair.
Man.
The Dolphins, they reshaped their 53-man roster, picked up a quarterback, Luke Falk. Also got Tanner McAvoy and center Travis Swanson.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Big time moves for the
Yeah,
Dolphins.
big time moves. Wasn't kind of the stuff you're talking about. And they got a Patriots tailback, Brandon Bolden, who basically played special teams. So,
Oh, yeah, I remember that guy.
yeah, that's all the movements you got on that. Gase, do you believe anything he says? Here's his commentary on this 53-man roster.
I like our team. I like the fact that I think we're a team. That's the best part about our what we have going on right now is that locker room. I like where those guys are at.
Okay. No, I'll see it when I believe it. Believe when I see it.
Oh, man. I want to believe it.
No, I hear you.
I want to. I mean, you see that sometimes with teams where, you don't really know how they're going to play until once you get out there and you realize, oh, look, they actually know how to play together and they're a strong unit. That could be the case, but if you're terrible, you're just terrible.
Right.
I mean, you have to be able to stop the run. I don't care if you're best friends.
Guess we'll start finding out this weekend, huh?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Titans, Sunday. Here we go.
Big shout out to Fort Pierce's Khalil Mack. He is now the highest paid defensive player in the NFL. Good for him. In fact, the highest in NFL history.
Didn't we just go through this with Aaron Donald? Like, literally, late last week, Aaron Donald was the highest paid player in NFL history. And 2 days later,
Khalil Mack was like,
is-
look, I got better numbers than Aaron Donald. I want to get paid like Aaron Donald. And he did.
Incredible.
And he found a team that would. And it's just kind of baffling, like, what the Raiders were doing or seeing, even inside their locker room. They're just like, okay. Derek Carr was talking about the trade.
No, never. I don't think it's not what anybody wanted. I think that's clear. But it is what it is. It's part of the business. It's one of those sucky things that happen.
So I don't know what Gruden's doing.
He wasn't expecting, nobody there was expecting Mac to actually get traded. I thought he was going to get traded. I think it was one of the last things we talked about on Friday last week that he might go to the Browns. So
Yeah.
I saw this kind of, the writing was on the wall that the relationship there in Oakland, or it is still Oakland, right? Yeah, in Oakland,
Yeah.
just evaporated. And I wasn't expecting the Bears, though. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, people just already, man. Gruden is, if you can get on the hot seat before the first game, I think people are like, okay, we can pay Gruden all this kind of money. We can't pay Khalil Mack. And then a lot of people are just really, hard on this trade, just saying, like, first of all, why are you giving this up? Now, the Bears gave up first-round picks in 2019 and 2020, a third-round pick in 2020, and a sixth-round pick in 2019. But they're talking about how they got back a second-round pick. And they're like, what are they doing with this?
And is this a rebuilding move by the Raiders?
I don't know. You just have to wait and see, but I don't think a lot of people love it right now.
It's just weird for
Yeah.
a team, man, that was like right there a couple of years ago.
Hey, Bears got to love it. They got Khalil Mack. They got Roquan Smith there. They're building a solid defense up. It's
That's
gonna
how the
be
Bears
good.
have done.
Well, this Kaepernick thing, I know everybody else on sports radio has been beating it to death.
Yep.
It is just, again, dropping on to the whole polarization of what is happening with the anthem and, speaking up. The tweet that was sent out from Nike and Kaepernick says, believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. Hashtag just do it.
Terrible slogan.
Yeah, and then, of course, now it just depends on where you fall in the whole anthem, debate with the guy who was kneeling for it. And now the jokes come out. Some people were putting out some anti-Nike puns, just don't and just blew it, or I didn't know Nike sold knee pads. There's all kinds of jokes that come with it. Some people were on there burning their Nikes, which doesn't even make sense. It's like you already paid for it, dumbass.
Just donate it. Like if you're really that upset with Nike and you're never going to wear it, just donate it. I'm sure there's some homeless people who don't care about what Colin Kaepernick thinks.
Yeah. There's a hashtag Nike boycott that's trending on Twitter. Now, money's what it all comes down to. And the thing that is kind of baffling is Nike's got, this whole contract with the NFL. They're like the official, apparel provider for the NFL. And so for me, with Nike doing this and considering Colin Kaepernick's got a lawsuit against the NFL, just when it comes to business agreements and, sending messages, that's where it's just kind of baffling to me. Kaepernick's making a ton of money off this. In fact, they're saying he's making more money now just doing this than he would as a backup in the NFL. So, boo-hoo. But, I mean, dude's getting paid.
Yeah, it's a good point. And that kind of takes me into my main thing with this. I have never cared what Colin Kaepernick does. Mm-hmm. I don't care what Kenny Stills does. I don't care what anybody else does when it comes to the national. That's where I'm at this point. I'm so sick of the national anthem debate. I don't care what you do anymore.
Yeah,
just show me my football.
I just think the narrative's broken. I think that if you just say, "Hey, look, it's not about disrespecting the anthem and the flag," which I've said time and time again, and understand what they're doing. They want to make a statement. Like, are we taking it too personally? When you fully look at what they're trying to do, they're trying to pay respect to the flag, at least according to the narrative that they're putting out, and the anthem. It's not about disrespect. It's about just creating awareness.
And yeah, that's where we're at with that. I mean, for me on that end, I've been of the mindset lately of just let it go, just enough. But where I don't like this is the slogan with Kaepernick. Okay, he didn't sacrifice everything. That is BS. Because a lot of people forget that he decided to opt out of his contract with the 49ers.
Yeah.
He decided to leave. He was going to play another season with them, even after the controversy, even through the kneeling, even through, which is another thing people forget, his terrible quarterback play. He was really bad that season.
And I think that's the discussion that we don't talk enough about. Was he demanding too much for what he was bringing to you? If you took away all the kneeling controversy, would he have gotten a job or not? And I guess obviously this is going to be in a court of law, and they're going to decide it there. But that, I think, is going to be the argument that the NFL is probably bringing, saying, look, this guy was just look, this is what happens in our league. Ask Khalil Mack. Yeah. If you demand too much, then some teams will not want to sign you or get rid of you.
It's true. And especially, yes, he did have the cloud of controversy surrounding him, so that kind of made him a pariah of some sorts at that point. But also, too, he didn't really help himself out with the way he played on the field that season.
Right.
We talked about it, I think, a couple weeks ago. There was a game where he was like 3 for 6 against Baltimore. I remember that. That wasn't the Super Bowl, obviously, when he played Baltimore.
Well, that's going to be the NFL's whole case.
Or the Rams.
They're going to bring out numbers, and they're going to have coaches who are, I would assume, testifying, saying, look, for what he was producing on the field, he wasn't worth the money. It's irregardless of what he was doing during the anthem.
Yeah, so I don't, exactly, and I don't like how they try to make him a martyr, because he's not. He decided to leave the 49ers. He's the one who decided to make himself this pariah, okay, because he never wanted to compromise with anybody. He was offered a contract with the Broncos, and he said no. The Ravens were thinking about bringing him in and using him in different facets, and he said no. So it's not like this guy was blackballed, even though that's what he's saying in his lawsuit. So we'll see how that works out in court. But that's what I don't like here.
Portraying himself as a martyr here, sacrificing everything, you're like, that's not
No, absolutely not. And I that's the part I hate about this. I don't care that they signed Kaepernick.
Yeah.
The part I hate is the false narrative. That's the part that annoys me.
Question is, will it be a good financial move or not? They're definitely getting tons of publicity on it, and they're targeting 15 to 17-year-old teenagers for the most part with this Just Do It campaign. But not to say older people don't buy Nike, because obviously they do. But so far, the numbers that tell you is what's going on with Nike stock. So far today, down 2.3%.
Yeah.
Don't know what that means. They'll want to keep an eye on that, but that's what it's all about, dollars and cents.
And you know what? Plus, like you said, he's making a ton of money on this deal.
Kaepernick's Kaepernick's winning.
Yes.
The question is, will Nike win? Because they are right now thumbing their nose at the NFL. They're paying Kaepernick a lot of money. Their stock right now is down. What's it going to do to sales ultimately? So this is the big gamble that Nike is making. But they've always been a renegade when it comes to marketing. Will it pay off or not? And I think it's too early to tell.
Yeah, so don't tell me he's lost everything when you're paying him a ton of money to do this campaign. And by the way, they kept him signed. Nike never let him go.
Yeah.
He's been contract has stayed with Nike under the table. No one has talked about it. Mm-hmm. So this is, again, false narrative, and that's what I hate about this.
And he's not the only one in the campaign. They're going to have LeBron, Serena
Right.
Williams, so there's going to be other athletes involved with this as well. The Miami Heat, are they about to make a trade of one of their marquee players? And what could they get for them? We'll discuss next.
You can tell his wife, just don't tell those other guys. It's Kevin's Other Show on 640 The Hurricane.
Miami Heat been so quiet, man. They've been taking a nap in the offseason, not really a lot of movement. Still waiting to see is D-Wade coming back. You keep hearing these rumors. Oh, a friend of his brother's barber said that there's a good chance he's coming back, but we don't really know what's going to happen with that. But are the Heat quietly starting to make some moves, and one that could have a big boom when it comes to their roster, a marquee player? Still more talk going on that maybe Goran Dragic is up for trade discussions. Could they be shipping him out? Now, he's in the fourth year of a 5-year, $85 million contract extension he signed with the Heat back in 2015. He's got a player option worth $19.2 million for the 2019-2020 season.
Man, that's a lot of money for Dragic.
And that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money for Dragic. But you can go down the Heat roster, can't you, and pretty much say, man, that's a lot of money for him.
Yeah.
Man, that's a lot of money for him. Man, that's a lot of money
That's
for him.
true.
And that's the problem that you got when you start looking at the roster and you say, okay, where's our marquee guys? We're saying a lot of money for him, but who are the guys saying, you know what, yeah, it's a lot of money, but it's worth it?
I mean, it's tough because, you know, we've talked about guys like Tyler Johnson before where, yeah, it would make sense to try to trade that contract, but good luck trying to get rid of a $50 million contract for a bench player. So that's what Tyler Johnson is. Obviously, the terrible Hassan Whiteside contract. We all know about that. Dragic is a little bit of a surprising one to me because, yeah, you're paying him a lot of money, but I feel like at this point, I think what it is here is that they realize they can't get rid of Tyler Johnson. They can't get rid of Whiteside. So they're trying to move somebody who they're paying a lot of money to, and now they're seeing, oh, look, the Suns need a point guard. Hey, Dragic used to play for the Suns. Maybe we can trade him there, and that's the guy we get rid of to save some money and to get some draft picks down the line. It's tough, man.
But
It's
the thing
tough.
that I find odd with this, and apparently right now what's being discussed is a first-round draft pick. I thought Pat Riley's one of those guys who doesn't like to build through the draft.
You're right. He normally doesn't. He's normally the guy that likes to build through free agency.
That's why is there any validity to this rumor?
That's the weird part for me. The part that I accept is the saving the money because if they want to try to reallocate that money to somebody else in next
There's
season's
some free
agency,
agents, yeah, that they like seeing coming open.
There's some names like Anthony Davis,
Yeah.
who are going to be out there next year.
Right.
Klay Thompson. There's a few good names that are going to be available next offseason. So I get trying to open up cap space, absolutely, with those names that are available. But it's just the draft pick thing. I'm not really sure. It's never, like you said, it's never really been his MO, Pat Riley.
And who do you got left for point guard on the roster if
I don't
they
know.
get rid of Dragic? Briante Weber, is that who it is?
Sure.
Is that who you're going to be relying on?
Let's go. I mean, can Deion Waiters play point guard? Who's somebody around?
That's what you're looking at?
I mean, oh gosh, use Tyler Johnson somewhere. Maybe teach him point guard. You're paying him enough. I don't know, man. They're in a bad spot right now. And the funny thing is that the Heat, currently constructed, would be a playoff team again in the East. But that's how bad that bottom half of the East is.
Yeah.
So, where do you want to be? I mean, are you content with being a 6th seed in the East? Is that what your goal is?
Well, aren't you probably right now you're trying to loosen up a little bit of money if you're the Heat? You want a placeholder in the sense where you're like, well, if we finish where we did last year, first-round playoff team, that's good enough to get money ready for some of the free agents that are going to be coming up. So we have a little bit of cap space, a little bit of wiggle room, and that's really what this is. This is a year for the Heat to maybe shake off some bad contracts, try to get things restructured better so that they can be a major player for free agency.
I think that makes more sense than battling for the 6th seed and playing Philly in the first round only
Right.
to lose. I mean, what's the point of that?
Well, you're going to have to really restructure if you want to have a long run in the East because you've got some really young teams in the East with some solid players under some longer contracts that are going to be with their teams for 3 to 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And so if you want to do anything in the next half decade,
Yeah.
and Pat Riley's going, man, look at my clock.
Exactly. He needs not for his legacy. He doesn't need anything else for his
No,
legacy.
no.
But I think he needs to clean up a little bit.
I think he would
now.
I think he would love to at least leave the Heat in a good place.
Yes. And right now they're not.
No.
They're not in a good place.
So he would. I think Riley would love to clean it up. I think he'd love to get a great free agent, have the Heat in that discussion of you've got the Celtics, Sixers, and Heat. And if he can walk away, he's going, I'm all good.
Yeah. Get them back into that top 3, 4,
Yeah.
the East with Toronto and all those teams. That's where they need to be because right now they're second, third tier team in the East.
You're
and
not
it's
loving
sad.
it.
Yeah, you don't want to see that. Like I
Yeah.
said, what's the point of that? What's the point of battling to be a 6 or a 7 seed to lose in the first round?
Yeah.
There's no future in that.
So is anything going to happen here in the camp is not far away either.
Actually, no, it's not.
Gosh, they're what? Probably
I think it's
a
only
month away?
Yeah, like
Tops?
3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. In hockey, too.
Yeah, it is. Right
That's
around the corner.
Wow.
I know, dude.
What a
Years
time
is
of year.
flying by, man.
It
Years
is.
flying by. Got to give some props to some South Florida girls. Serena Williams
Yeah.
onto the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open. And also, you got to say congrats, too, to Sloane Stephens. She's the defending champ. She's onto the quarterfinals as well.
That's right.
So it's good to see some South Florida girls that are doing well.
Man, it would be so much fun to see Sloane Stephens and Serena Williams go at it in that tournament. You have two South
I haven't
Florida
seen
girls.
the bracket. Is there a chance that they could face off in the championship?
I need to look at that too because I haven't seen how that draw
Serena's
would work
looking
out.
nasty. I saw
She
a little
looks
bit
good.
of what she did to her sister
Yeah.
Venus, and man, that was a bloodbath.
I've been saying it, man, for the past couple weeks. You know it. I'm going to pat myself on the back on this one and say I've been saying that Serena's going to win this tournament. But Sloane Stephens has won the U.S. Open before, so that would be fun, though. Wherever they meet. Like I said, I haven't seen the women's draws if they meet in the semifinals or the finals.
Right.
But if it's going to be late in the tournament at this point, wherever they end up meeting, so that would be fun.
One thing we didn't get to today, but I wanted to lay a drop on it. Big game from Friday Night Football. Number 2 Atlantic beat Dwyer 30-13. Dwyer ranked number 1 in the county.
Huge.
That was a huge game. Absolutely. So it was really kind of surprising to see that Dwyer offense came back in week 2 and struggled.
2 losses now, right, for Dwyer? They started season 0-2.
Yeah, well, no, they won the first week. The offense got going, and then this last week, the first one that you're talking about with that loss was Central. That was just kind of an exhibition game.
Okay, that's
so
what I'm
it
thinking
didn't-
about.
Yeah,
Yes.
it didn't count to them. But Vero Beach is nasty. Who is going to take them out? They beat Wellington, a decent Wellington team that was ranked 10th in the county, beat them 46-0.
Man,
And this is a team that the week before Vero Beach beat the defending 7A state champs.
that's a good team, man.
Yeah, shout
Vero
out to
Beach.
Palm Beach Central who beat Miami Ferguson 48-0. So some good stuff that happened from Friday Night Lights. Coach Coquel, he does a Saturday show here. You can also listen to the podcast or check what you missed on his Saturday show. Just go to our website, 640 The Hurricane. You got us on pretty much everywhere,
Yeah,
man. You
essentially.
got us everywhere. We are on YouTube. You can do that. You can download our podcast for Kevin's Other Show. And go follow us right now on Twitter under Kevin's Other Show.
You listened to him on the KVJ show for years. Every time he tried to talk sports, he'd get shut down. After years of begging, we finally gave in. Brought to you by Wellington Anti-Aging. Low T? Go to wellingtonantiaging.com. And by Bremen Motor Cars in West Palm Beach. A world-class experience. Shop BremenPorsche.com now. It's Kevin's Other Show on 640 The Hurricane.